Good afternoon and welcome to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet. Coming soon to Ohio, Nathan Ziggler alongside Gerard Cherry today in for Bo Bishop. Gerard, how you doing, man?
I am doing excelente, Nate Dogg. How are you feeling, my man?
You know, battling. Today, though, I definitely feel better. I feel like I sound a little bit better, so I'm hopeful that, we're going to carry some of this momentum. But I got knocked out, Gerard, after the game. It started to happen a little bit during the game, my voice anyway, on Saturday. And then by Sunday, I was like rocked. The flu got me pretty good. And Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, even yesterday was a struggle. But today I finally feel a little bit better. And that's good because I want to be healthy for this game and I want to be healthy for the holidays. I mean, come on.
I heard that. Now, I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but if I were you, I'd be campaigning right now to close those windows. But hey. It is what it is.
All right, listen. I said that to Gibbe yesterday. I brought that up. I said, what are we doing? The window situation. If it's negative 20, I feel that feels untenable to me to be exposed to. It feels like it's dangerous to be exposed to.
We're going to have a little discussion, but be ready. Be ready for those at least to be partially open.
You think he really wants more? He's a legend. What are you going to do?
Well, but it's not that. It's not just about that. It's if you have a plastic window in front of you, that sound just bounces right back.
No, I hear you.
And you don't get the stadium sound and the fans and everything else.
Maybe can we inquire about bringing in like a couple actual heaters in there, like real space heaters? Because if we had that, I wouldn't mind if it was open.
Well, you've got heaters at your feet.
Yeah, but those are, as you know, insufficient.
Well, I don't know where else we'd put them, though.
Is there even an outlet in there? I don't know.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
See, that there brings up an interesting point, though. Think about that. What supersedes an actual football game is the weather conditions because they're so adverse.
Yeah.
And right now, if you're a player, you're more concerned not even about your opponent. How are you going to physically get through this football game when you consider what's ahead? And that's a real concern for players right now.
It's a concern for you, Gerard, for crying out loud. I'm worried about you, brother. What's your plan for out there?
You don't want to know my plan. It might be illegal.
Listen, whatever you got to do, strap the heaters to your body, whatever it takes, man. You got to survive.
What's that canteen in his pocket?
Don't even worry about it. That's right. Whatever keeps you warm, man. Whatever keeps you warm, Gerard. I love it.
Everybody for themselves, buddy.
But you mentioned it. For the players, the crazy thing about this game is that it is possible, and the coaches and the players have got to prepare themselves for a scenario in which you literally can't throw the football, that it might be impossible to throw the football under the conditions, certainly not down the field, and that it may be a cold, physical, grinded-out running game where the team that's able to break the other team's will finally wins.
Yeah, if the weather doesn't do it first, because that's really what it's going to boil down to. How do you deal with the elements? Because it's going to be, in my mind, about the rushing attack. So the fact, and to the Saints' credit, they have, in my mind, a prolific passing attack. Dalton has done fairly well. If you go back and watch the Falcons game, which I know you have because you're excellent at your preparation, you see that, hey, Dalton spreads the ball out well to the rookie Rashid Shaheed, and you see Juwan Johnson, the tight end, he does a good job. And then Jarvis gets in the mix every now and then. Olave, though he may not be able to go, gets put in there. And then you got the Swiss Army knife.
Kamara.
And as well as Kamara. Not to mention Ingram's back there, too. So they got talent from a skill position standpoint. The name is escaping me. Who's the quarterback? Taysom Hill, thank you.
Yeah.
/ running back / receiver. So they got talent on the offensive side of the ball, but it's going to be minimized, I believe, due to the weather. So who has the best rushing attack is really going to, in my mind, have to win this game.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. You mentioned Andy Dalton and getting ready for this one. Last 4 games, Andy Dalton, 71% completions, 8.5 yards per attempt. That actually leads the NFL over the last 4 games. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of 117. That leads the NFL over the last 4 games. Yeah, he's a veteran. He knows where to go with the ball. He doesn't have a huge arm, but he knows where to go with the ball and keeps the ball out of harm's way.
Yeah, well, again, I can't say enough about the receivers that they have. I'm telling you, it jumps out at you when you watch him.
He can fly. 22.3 yards a catch.
Yeah, point return guy, just blazing. And so, in a lot of ways, I like our secondary matchup against pretty much everybody, so that doesn't put fear in my heart when we have a talented receiving core come to town. But, again, this game won't be about It shouldn't be about passing.
No.
Because on top of that, we're talking about what? 30 to 60 mile range of a 30 to 60 mile per hour gust of wind. And the fact how the ball, I don't care how tough you are, if Dalton is putting anything on it, and it might be actually good for them that he's not a strong arm quarterback. Because say, for example, guys who are historically known for strong arms, like an Allen, like an Elway, and guys like that, you don't want to catch their football in this weather.
No.
It hurts too much. I mean, so again, you're dealing with stuff from a player perspective that games like this, you generally abhor. Now, if you're a slow guy and you're a lineman or something like that, you love these games because it evens the playing field. And it actually makes you equal with the guys who are normally 10 times faster than you.
Yeah, you mentioned, Juwan Johnson. When you watch him, converted wide receiver, was an undrafted free agent as a wide receiver. He's got 7 touchdowns this year. That's second most in the NFL at the tight end position, behind only Travis Kelce. All 7 of them have come since week 7, which is the second most in the NFL of anybody outside of A.J. Brown. A touchdown in 5 of his last 7 games, 2 multi-touchdown games. I mean, he's become a real weapon for them.
Right, and when you watch him play, one of the things that you walk away from the experience saying to yourself is, one, why aren't people covering this guy? And how does he manage to find himself always open? And then he does a superior job after the catch of running with the football as well. So, again, this Saints team, I don't know what's going on down there, Nathan, because the defense has ballers too. So I cannot explain to you the record. I mean, they should have lost the game to the Falcons because the Falcons were driving late, and to Ritter's credit, he was making moves, and then London fumbled the football and cost him the game. But I'm still – and then obviously what took place against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was a major collapse on their part.
Sure.
So they should be better than what their record indicates because the team, Lord knows, is talented. But you've heard me say this plenty of times now. Talent is never enough.
No, well, I'll give you the one stat that is the reason why their record is what it is and not significantly better. They are last in the NFL in turnover differential. They have generated the fewest number of takeaways this season. They have the 3rd most turnovers this season. You add it up, that's the deal right there. They're last in turnover differential. If they were better in turnover differential, I'm pretty sure they would be a better football team this season. They only have 3 picks on the whole year, and turnovers, as you know, are massive game-changing plays. That's really been their issue. And if the Browns can win the turnover battle, if the Browns can go a game without turning it over like they did against the Ravens, by the way, that's only the 3rd time this year the Browns have had a game without a giveaway. And, by the way, the Browns are 3-0 in those games. Then that's been their issue. That's the Achilles heel of the Saints team.
Right. I'll add to us as well, like we did last week, minimizing the penalties. That's going to also help the cause. So, yeah, you're not turning that football over and you're being cautious with it and you're not just being free willy with it, then you're going to be all right. But, yeah, as I think more about it, the Saints, that makes all the sense in the world because when you look at what took place with the Buccaneers, when you look at other games that they played, it's come down to that impromptu interception or fumbling at the wrong time. That's going to get you beat. And I have to think, though, Nathan, with, again, having lived in New Orleans, played in New Orleans, and knowing that right now they're experiencing 50-degree weather, I mean, that's cold for them, and people will break out their parkas with that. But just imagine dropping another 58 to 70 degrees potentially, what that's going to feel like.
Yeah, it's craziness. It's going to be crazy. I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You brought up Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's their second leading rusher, 449 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's averaging 6.6 yards a carry. He's got 18 rushing touchdowns the last 3 seasons, and this year they're 3-0 when he's got at least 9 carries. In this game, it feels like they could go with Taysom Hill maybe as their primary quarterback.
I would, yeah.
Against us and just run the ball all game.
Mm-hmm. That should be their game plan. Think about it. And sometimes what they will do is they'll put Dalton out wide just to throw off the formation and then hike it directly to Kamara or Hill and let Hill throw the football. So that's a nice wrinkle that they have that we'll have to prepare for. But if I'm Joe Woods, I'm certainly considering, and if I am as well as the Saints, that makes a lot of sense because this should be an old school, back in the day, Army, Navy, Notre Dame type of football game where the teams who had the wishbone won the game and ran the best. Because how do you pass in these conditions effectively? Because we will have no clue where the wind's going to be blowing. And if it is blowing 40 – remember that Raiders game?
Yeah.
And we lost that game, and I feel the reason why we lost that game a couple years ago was because we, weren't physical in those elements.
They ran it on us.
And they came there, and they were like, we're going to be more physical, and we had no interest in being that. We can't be that way, obviously, on Saturday. But I think it's going to be, we've gone through these type of games before because that was impossible wet throwing conditions due to the weather.
Yeah, and they out-physicaled us, and the Browns are going to have to be the more physical team in this one against this Saints team. Now, the Browns had some good news yesterday. Pro Bowl Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, Nick Chubb all selected to the 2023 Pro Bowl. By the way, third straight year that Garrett, Bitonio, and Chubb, the three of them together, have represented the Browns at the Pro Bowl. Wyatt Teller obviously went. Denzel Ward's gone in that time as well. But that trio, 3 straight Pro Bowl appearances for all 3, that's pretty impressive, Gerard.
Oh, it certainly is. Because whenever you're getting elected, and granted they don't have the game anymore, they have the competitions or something like that. But anytime you get recognized by your peers, by the fans, by the league in that honor, it's a huge honor. And just to take you back to the game, I'm pretty sure some guys are actually happy that the game is not taking place anymore. Because I used to have teammates who would go tell you, Nathan, that, man, I lost money going to the Pro Bowl because this became some deal where family members, and I don't know why it became a league tradition that you would take immediate family, cousins, aunts, and uncles, and next you know something that was supposed to be a celebration of you getting paid for winning the game. And I think at that time it might have been $100,000s or something like that for winning. You pretty much that whole check went to covering your expenses for being there, so you lost money on the prospect.
Yeah, that's, first world problems in some way, but also that is ridiculous. I agree with that. Ridiculous. Amari Cooper, Jack Conklin, Denzel Ward, Wyatt Teller, David Njoku selected as alternates. I think David Njoku, keep an eye on him. I still think he has a chance to make it. I think if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, that would take Travis Kelce out.
And deservingly so.
I think he's got to be the third tight end in the AFC there. There's nobody else. So I think that David Njoku would be that guy. So that's one I'm keeping an eye on there. And I think he deserves it. I think he's played at a very, very high level for the Browns this season and has really kind of showed why they gave him that franchise contract, which has been great to see. Gibbe, I know you've got the final injury updates. You told them to me earlier, but I have not quite remembered them clearly. I know Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. I'll fill for you a second. Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, good to go. John Johnson, questionable. Jadeveon Clowney out with a concussion.
Yeah, Clowney is indeed out with a concussion. He still hasn't cleared protocol. Ethan Posick looked good in return from IR. He will be activated and start at center Saturday for the Browns.
Oh, he will start? Wow.
That will be a big deal. Nick Chubb looked good. Myles Garrett feeling better. Both are cleared to play. John Johnson III is questionable with that thigh injury, but he was on the field today during the media portion of practice. I would expect him to be able to go as well. So it looks like everybody's up except Clowney.
And Nathan, quickly, before we go completely and I get an opportunity to mention this again, I just want to say something about David Njoku.
Yep.
As far as what I'm seeing from my vantage point is that I know a lot of people are like, why are you paying this guy all this money? One, the talent has always been there.
Yep.
Always been there. Been on display, and you've seen signs of it. And what you're getting now with the opportunities is more of it being a regular as opposed to once they focus on him and put him as a part of the game plan. But the thing that's really, really, really impressed me about David is the leadership role that he's taken on. Yep. I have seen this guy on the sideline, guys, implore his teammates, we need to go out there and be about something, play for some reason greater than ourselves and our own stats, but actually to win football games and represent this team. And when you start having key guys who are handsomely paid, who are focal points of your football team, starting to create this type of accountability, you're on the right path, and you want to empower that. You want to make this type of guy a captain with his play and what he has to say and backing it up. So I've been very impressed by that.
Yeah, do you think part of that is you when you start off in the league, and let's say, you were not a blocker, obviously, at the U, and you were not asked really to block, and then you get to the league, you're asked to block. His commitment to that part of the game, which is not glamorous, and the way that he improved himself there, don't you think that carried a lot of weight, obviously, with the organization, but also with his teammates who saw and respected the work that he put in to physically dominate somebody, even though that's not the glamorous part of being a tight end in the NFL?
Oh, absolutely, because it shows it's not about you. There's sacrifice involved with that because we know he can catch. We know he can run after the catch, and we certainly know he can hurdle somebody. But once you're doing things that aren't typically associated with you as being a receiving tight end and you find yourself actually blocking and paying the price, and sacrificing and putting yourself in harm's way, because that can impact your catching ability if you're blocking and you get caught up in that. And there's a risk of injury with that, as opposed to just flat out running routes. So for him to do that, guys take that and respect that because they understand the circumstances that are at hand. And yes, that's a matter of maturity as well. And let's be frank about it. Obviously, he ended up in Freddie Kitchens' doghouse for a moment or two there, and it didn't look like it was going to work out. And then obviously when they brought in, was it Cooper from Atlanta? Gosh, who's our tight end?
What? Mike on, get back.
Tight end from Atlanta, free agent.
Austin Hooper.
Thank you.
Hooper. I called him Hooper.
Yep.
And then, so that obviously rubbed things the wrong way for David, but to the organization's credit, they stuck with him. And to his credit, he didn't quit, and he's paying the price. And that's what you have now, that, hey, I'm a complete tight end. And people respect that. That gets you nods for the Pro Bowl, and it also gives you command in the locker room that when you speak up, guys are going to respect what you have to say.
I love that. And Gerard would know he's been around winning teams, 3-time Super Bowl champion. By the way, I got this tweet today from AK Son. He says, if Z is going to complain about the cold nonstop, I'm going to hop on the old snowmobile and bring him a head-to-toe fur outfit. Fine. Thank you.
Please do. Bring
Please
me one.
do.
I was going to say, I think Gerard might need it more than anybody.
Yeah, more for Gerard. Then he said, is there anything he fears more than below freezing temperatures? Yeah, a lot of things. Snakes, spiders, sharks.
Yeah, the cold is not at the top of the list, but it's just not something I'd prefer to deal with.
It's not something that anybody wants to just go stand outside. Like if they said it was going to be 110 degrees and sweltering heat in the sun, I wouldn't like that either. I'm not about extreme temperatures. I'm about comfortable temperatures. You know what I mean? It's not just that it's cold. If it was like that day in Florida when we were in Miami, Gerard, there was like it wasn't too bad, but early in the day when you were right in the sun, it was ridiculous. It was like over 100 on the sideline, right?
101, right?
Yeah. So if it was like, and that was on a day that it was quote unquote 70 degrees or whatever, or 80 degrees, whatever. But if it was like 100 degrees, so it'd be 120 in the sun, something like that, I wouldn't like that either. I want to be good. I don't even worry about extremes.
Why you want to go live in Arizona year round?
It's a dry heat.
Stop. Don't. That's not. No. Don't even go there. Don't look. I knew it. I'm going to tee him up, and he's going to be like, it's a dry heat.
It is
That's
very
why
different.
It's different.
It is different.
It's not.
It's like being in an oven.
It's still hot.
It's still really hot. In the summer, it wouldn't be great. I'd like to be here in the summer.
Yes.
And I'd like to be there not in the summer.
All right, but I'd take the dry heat over humidity heat
any day
of the week.
Yes. And there's pools everywhere. Everybody's got a pool. You'll sit in your pool. You'll drink a margarita. You'll eat a taco. It'll be great.
All of that is fine.
Yeah.
But, it's still 110 degrees.
And it doesn't rain nearly as much because it's not as humid.
Now, from an equipment standpoint, have you guys ever experienced something this cold as far as producing a game, Jay?
We've had a few games that were super cold, but nothing like this potentially. I'm interested to see. Our gear is going to get tested on Saturday. We're going to find out what works and what doesn't in this extreme weather.
Oh my God!
Yeah, from a wireless standpoint and from antennas, and I think we're all kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I think
I've said I've been in it. I've been in it before, so I know the pain involved with it. So that part, I've gone down this path before, so I know I can tolerate it. Obviously, that was years ago. So I know I have championship blood running in me, so I'll be able to get through it. But last week was even a concern for me. Am I gonna be able to talk sensible with it being as cold as it's gonna be? So.
Yeah, because it can make your mouth numb. It makes it hard to speak.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's great. You did a great job, and we'll get through this. Yeah, not a fan of extreme temperatures, and I'm not ashamed of that. As a matter of fact,
man, believe me, I'm not gonna call you out for not being tough for it. Sometimes, man.
I don't think in this situation Saturday, no one needs to be a tough guy. No one needs.
I'm pretty sure it was our good friend Mo Pedman who said he sees all this stuff about people saying how tough it is to sit out in games, and he said I've never seen in a fight situation somebody's like, oh well, I sat outside in a game. They're like, oh, okay, all right, let's not fight now.
I think he said, I've still been punched in the face plenty of times.
Yeah.
And sitting outside in the cold did not prepare me for that.
I think, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I believe he actually said that on TV, too.
Did he on TV? I saw
Yeah.
the tweet of it.
Nah, I used to have teammates be like, man, we're going all sleeveless today. You joining us? No.
No.
Come on, man. You tougher than that. I was like, I already know I'm tough. I don't need to prove it to you.
Right.
So,
I'm
no.
on the team. I'm already on the team.
I
don't
am
have to
As a matter of fact,
curious.
I had more tackles than you, so I guess what does that mean? So, no.
Damn.
I am curious to see, and I know Chief said he's doing it.
He's tripping.
But, like, at some point, you got to be like, hey, dude, you can't get frostbite on your body.
Yeah.
Like, that becomes a real possibility.
If it's negative 20, yeah. And it becomes a real possibility, like,
Quickly.
Right.
Quickly.
Hypothermia is for real.
He might have to rub a bunch of, like,
Well, the Vaseline will be
Vaseline.
on,
Yeah.
so it won't be a true bareness.
yeah.
'Cause
Hopefully.
Believe me, I got
Vaseline
all
up.
that. I'm
Vaseline
going
up.
to use a
All right.
whole case of it.
That's right. Cake it up. When we come back, you're going to hear from Browns offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, plus Gibbe and Gerard will get out into the matchup. The Browns offense against the Saints defense. It's Cleveland Brown Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio.
In Cleveland.
Buying or selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services is always a winning strategy. If you plan to make a move this season, we've got you covered because at Howard Hanna, every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. We kick off our matchup day here on Cleveland Browns Daily. Here's offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt at the podium.
You're done.
Sad, yeah, tough one, man. He was a legend. Actually lived over in the north side when I played for the Steelers early on, and he was like maybe 2 blocks down on the same road. He always stayed there. It was pretty cool. Good guy. Sad, you know.
I mean, she had crossed
No,
paths.
I know. I mean, just met him a couple times in passing, but didn't know him personally well. But I know he's a hero in the city for sure, for what he did in the community as well.
How much did you have to rebuild kind of the connection you and Deshaun had kind of developed over the offseason and the preseason when he got back into the building? I mean, how much had there been sort of an erosion? I don't know if that's the right word, but, you know, just kind of step back to, you know, take steps forward.
Yeah, no, I think that obviously when you're not communicating every day, it's tough. But once he got back in, it was like riding a bike. You know, in the quarterback room, he fit right back in. Drew does a great job in that room of getting those guys ready to play, and I think he really didn't miss a beat.
Hey, Alex, Deshaun talked about it a little bit today, but why do you think he is such a good fit for the system you guys run, and why he was looking forward to playing it?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of things that help him be a better player. Whether it starts with the run game, really. If you don't have to rely on just passing the ball, you're going to be more balanced, more sound, and I think we have that ability to do both. You know, obviously a big part of our game is the keeper game off the play action, and he's really good on the perimeter. So it kind of marries up.
Like the keeper game, do you think, is it taking defenses a while to respect that he might keep it around the corner? Like, do you still see those ends crashing maybe more than they will after he's played more?
You know, I think it goes back and forth really each game. You know, you'll see them hold more now, which helps the run game. He does a great job of making everything look the same, whether it be the run or the keeper, and that makes them play it honestly, and that's what we're looking for. You know, anytime they're chasing down the line of scrimmage, you know, then they're not playing the keeper, and it's coming.
The no huddle and the tempo changes that you can do with him. Why is he well suited to that sort of thing?
I think it's for a guy that's just gotten into the system for the first year and not been a part of it for a chunk of the season. It allows you to operate quickly, and communication's less at the line of scrimmage. I think that's something that all of our guys really respond to well. Just short, quick calls, precise, and we know exactly what to do in those calls.
I've seen those initial connections with Deshaun and guys like David Njoku and Amari Cooper, but then last week it looked like he started incorporating guys like Dalen Baldwin, Mike Woods, getting them. Is that something that helps him get to that next level of his development and getting him kind of back on track where you guys want him?
I think so. I really do. I mean, I've seen growth every week. I would say yesterday I thought he had his best practice he's had. Just command of the huddle, command of the play calls, his footwork, his timing, his rhythm, his accuracy. Yesterday I really was impressed. So those guys, really proud of the young guys that stepped up, Baldwin and Woods. They're going to be a big part of us moving forward. They're good players, and for him to come in and not shy away from throwing those young guys the ball is good. So again, just he's progressed each week with the help of the young receivers, but really impressed with his week of work yesterday, starting off this week.
He's talking about the game slowing down for him. Can that out even for a guy like Deshaun who's out for so long? Does the game have to slow down again, sort of re-slow down?
Absolutely. You know, when you're out of football for as long as he was, live action, it's chaotic when you start doing it again until you get that feel and that rhythm again, and that's what I'm seeing now on the field for him. It's slowing down. There's not as much angst in his body. You can just tell he's more comfortable with what he's doing.
What about the guys having to stay alive, when he's out of the pocket and just learning that whole side of him? We talked to him about the Michael Woods play where, Michael had the little learning moment there on the field. But can you just address that a little bit about how those guys have to be ready for whatever Deshaun has to offer?
Yes, that's something that in the skilled room when we talk to the receivers and tight ends and running backs, we talk about the scramble drill daily. It's part of our game. It's a big part of what I'm used to from Green Bay with Aaron, so I know exactly how important it is that everybody's on the same page once we break contain, once we get out of the pocket. There's rules, and we definitely go over those daily. And if a clip comes up in practice, whether it be in a game or practice or another game that you're watching somebody else do, we'll pull those apart and just say, here's what they did well, or here's what we did well, or here's where we can improve when we break contain, because that's a big part of explosive football is outside the pocket and broken plays.
So there are hard and fast rules on that too. It's not as sort of fire drill as it might look.
It does sometimes look that way, but hopefully we're all on the same page and know exactly how to execute when we do break the pocket.
With the wind and the cold forecast for Saturday, do you guys go in prepared to run, 50 times if you need to? Is that in your mind?
Yeah, we'll adjust and adapt to conditions. Is what it is. We're fortunate to get to play in it. Being from up here and facing the team from the south, we like that. If it's one of those days, that you can't even take a shotgun snap because the wind's blowing too hard, we'll adjust and adapt. But I think we have a good plan going in. Contingency plans if it is one of those days where you just can't really do anything but get under center and run the ball. We're ready for that. If we get lucky and it's not as windy as they're calling for, we're ready for that. It just should be fun. It's cold. A lot of energy in the stands when it gets cold like that, so it should be a fun day.
How might Kareem be, suited to the kind of an offense that Deshaun runs because of his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield?
Yeah, no, I think both of our backs are really good. Obviously, Nick's just as good in the gun as Kareem. I think that we'll probably see a little more gun if you did a statistical breakdown with Deshaun and Jacoby. And both those guys are good runners, but Kareem especially, does a lot of good things from the gun out of the backfield, on third down as well.
What have you learned about Amari just being around in this year?
30.
It looks like he's going past 1,000 yards again.
Hoping so. Yep, really proud of him, man. He's, getting to know him over the course of the season, how seriously he takes it. It means a lot to him. His route running is as good as I've ever been around. To create separation, his suddenness, his ability to put his foot in the ground and break, with violence at the top of the routes to create separation, and just tries to do it right every time. I think that's the biggest thing. His film studies is really, really strong. The quarterbacks and he will text on the side often. Did you see this clip? Or they'll send film clips back and forth, so I know how hard he works at it.
You're up.
That's Browns offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt at the podium. It is a matchup day, and Gerard Cherry joins us here to break down the New Orleans Saints versus that Browns offense. First and foremost, Gerard, what needs to happen on offense for the Browns to win on Saturday? No pressure. I just need to know a complete game plan.
Oh, it's really simple. And Nathan and I alluded to it earlier, Jay, in that you can't turn the football over for starters. And in these weather conditions, it's going to be very challenging not to do that because the ball is it's cold, but it's like a hot potato. You hit your hands, and you're like, oh, that hurts. But with that being said, who wins in the trenches? I mean, all games come down to that. But really on this particular Saturday, with what we're expecting from a weather standpoint, you have to have this thought process that the following is important, that you have to run the ball effectively and run it well and control the clock and just beat down and wear down a team that's not used to operating in these conditions. And if you can do that from a running the football standpoint and just controlling things from that regard, you're going to have a great chance of getting some success on the football field. And obviously having Posey coming back, and if he can be just where he was, which is hard to anticipate, but he was playing at a Pro Bowl level. And then once he went away, the running game tailored off because of that, I believe, because the two went hand in hand. He left the premises, and the running game went down. He's back on the football field. If it goes back up, then that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, and no slight on Yelda Froholt, but Yelda Froholt's a guard.
And fourth removed from being a center, right? So,
exactly.
He did a tremendous job. And please, Yelda, if you're listening, not a shot at you whatsoever. That's really just, again, he filled in admirably. But when you have the guy who is playing at a Pro Bowl level back doing what he's capable of doing, you want that on the football field.
Well, and I think, Gerard, the other thing is when you are on offense and you're running the football, you know where you're going.
Exactly.
The defense doesn't know where you're going. You know where you're going. And especially on a home field like First Energy Stadium, that will help out this Browns offense.
Well, it's can't say it enough. One, knowing where you're going, and then have you mentally prepared yourself to embrace the idea that we're going to be physical and we're going to run the football and we're going to get after the Saints team. Another thing you need to know with the Saints, remember Algiers for the Falcons? He had 100 yards rushing. Now, granted, it was inside of a dome, and that's pristine. You can't get better conditions than that. But he ran through the Saints like they were water. So I would like to think that same poor run defense will show its face on Saturday against, who I have to say at this point, Algiers is not to the level of a Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb, even if Nick is dealing with a foot injury as we speak, or putting Ford back there, or even Dearness to get an opportunity. So I like what we bring to the table because we have a stable of running backs.
Yeah, I keep them fresh, keep them running through, and just run the football. I agree with you. What's the matchup you're paying the most attention to, especially from that sideline spot?
I'm going to be looking at the defensive offensive line. Really, you should be looking at that because if you're not, you're tripping because really it's going to come down simply to that. Who is controlling the trenches? And granted, they have guys that excel at rushing the football on the Saints defensive front. Really good at that. They get after the quarterback, but I don't anticipate Deshaun Watson passing that much, and we already know that he's capable of eluding would-be tacklers as well. And also he brings the element. We haven't talked about that. What he could potentially do from a running standpoint. Now, the bootleg's going to be hard to, like, convince a guy to honor a pass because of the weather, but still having that element from a quarterback standpoint with the RPO game as a possibility because they're going to do the same thing with us. With Taysom Hill, you have to imagine, as far as just running the football. But, again, Cam Jordan, no more a complete defensive lineman, baller. And then you got Davenport who can get the job done as well. So and then Tuttle. So they got guys.
I mean,
front.
Demario Davis played with us for a season.
Best,
he's a great
He's a
linebacker.
baller. He's been balling for them. Yes, he has. Captain now. He's made himself a captain on that squad.
Yeah, I mean they're good. I mean the Honey Badgers back at free safety.
Mm-hmm.
Lattimore, like they're a good team defensively. That was going to be their bread and butter this year. It has not lived up to that. And then with all of the injuries offensively, I mean, the season's gone to 5-9. That's where you see is what you get here with the New Orleans Saints. Who is your X factor on offense this week for the Browns?
You brought the guy's name up and the fact that he's on the football field. For me, it all starts at the center position. He's the center. He's the quarterback. If he can have, and I'm not expecting Jay to be at the form he was before he got hurt, but if you're close, I mean, I can't have a Deshaun Watson Houston game type of experience with him because then we're going to lose the game. But if he is like somewhere in between, okay, good to great, we should dominate.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be opportunities. And I would even say this. I know we're talking about running the football and running the football and running the football, but if the wind's going a certain way and you are able to throw the football going certain directions, if you're a wide receiver or a tight end, you better make the play. Because it's not, they're going to be few and far between. You better catch the football.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Because, like I said, when the ball coming at you and Watson can throw hard, I mean, I can't. I'm sorry, folks, but it's got to be real with you. The pain of catching something and tackling someone in these conditions, it hurts. It actually hurts you to play football in these situations, and that's the part we're not saying about. I'm telling you, it actually hurts in this situation to play. Now, granted, you can get hurt playing football, we know that, but to actually walk on the football field, catch a ball, make a block, there's pain going to be involved in that, and you got to get yourself ready for that. So, yes, if they have the opportunity, by all means, sacrifice yourself because the team needs this win, and this is where it's going to be also interesting in that, I mean, we're still not mathematically eliminated. There's a slight chance. They still have one as well.
But it's less than us.
But it's even more remote than what we're facing. So it's going to be interesting to see whose will can be conquered first and submitted to. That's really really all football games, especially tight ones, come down to that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is a game where if you're 7-8, all of a sudden, and certain other things fall your way, and the NFL's been crazy enough on a Sunday, the last few Sundays, for example, that buckle up, anything's possible. As long as you continue to handle your business, you're going to put yourself in a position.
All right, and on top of that, just from a standpoint of finishing strong, and granted, you don't know who the cast of characters are going to be here next season, but there's something to be said about having momentum going into the offseason. Now, your greatest momentum is going to the actual playoffs and winning, but even then, you can win a Super Bowl and have a hangover, so it varies. But in our situation, I really do think that having an opportunity to assess who's for real, who's for fake, and making decisions based off that will do a lot in an evaluation standpoint, even though we don't have a first round draft pick this season, but we do have an opportunity from a free agency standpoint to bring guys in that will maybe fit what we're trying to achieve for those who aren't doing what we need to do to achieve.
All right, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, more on this matchup between the Browns and the Saints. Christmas Eve, 1 o'clock. We'll hear from Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper when Cleveland Browns Daily continues on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Dot Camera is
You're done.
place for all of your
Thank you.
holiday
Yeah,
shopping
Cooper.
from 20%.
There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Bone is the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. That's Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio, very soon, as a matter of fact. Nathan Ziggler, Jason Gibbs, Gerard Cherry with you. But now let's go to the podium and hear from Browns wide receiver and Pro Bowl alternate, Amari Cooper.
Amari, you're out.
You're done.
1,000 again. Is that an important milestone for you?
Yeah, for sure. It's a milestone that people respect, you know. It's the milestone that people start to view a receiver like, you know, he had a good season. So, yeah, it is.
Do you think it says a lot about your consistency that you've had so many of them?
Yeah.
How do you get mentally prepared to play in 9 degrees?
I mean, it's football, you know, at the end of the day. Play in whatever conditions that come that day. Just gotta go out there and just ball, play football. I mean, the weather doesn't, it's a non-factor really.
If there's 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds and it's 9 degrees, you know, what does that do to the potential for passing game?
You know, obviously the weather does affect the passing game, especially the wind. That's a huge thing. But there are things you could do to kind of mitigate that. That's where strategy comes into play.
Have you been told you'll need to get that core muscle injury taken care of at the end of it?
Say it again.
The injury you had, which they say is a hip, you've said it's core muscle type.
All right.
Will you need some kind of procedure after the season?
I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Is it still bothering you a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Amari, when you have a quarterback like Deshaun and you have to stay alive on the scramble drills and he's outside of the pocket doing all the stuff that he does, is that something that you really enjoy, knowing that at any minute some kind of a wild play can happen?
Yeah, it's something that I think most receivers enjoy. It just gives you an extra opportunity to make a play as opposed to when you might have a quarterback that's not as mobile. The play probably would result in a sack, but somebody like Deshaun, he can escape when the defensive line does a good job and still be able to make a play.
So does it give you an opportunity to use some different talents and skills in terms of just, you know, cutting and the moves that you can make on DBs and stuff like that?
No, I mean, it still requires the same talent and skill. I mean, you're still trying to lose the DB because they're taught to plaster when a quarterback gets out of the pocket. So you're still trying to get away from them, I guess, just in a different way.
Sean said last week that he thinks the sky's the limit for him and Kevin working together. What do you like about Deshaun in Kevin's system?
I mean, he's still himself, you know what I mean? I think it doesn't matter what system he plays in. I mean, he's still going to do a lot of the same things. And then he's also brought over some stuff that he liked when he was at Houston, you know. So I think that tandem, you know, is good. You know, they work good together. They communicate a lot. And it's not just Deshaun and Kevin's system. It's Kevin saying, hey, you know, what's some of the stuff that you like? So.
Amari, it seems like Deshaun does a pretty good job of like communicating with you guys on what he wants, what he's looking for. Do you feel that way, and has that kind of helped speed things along a little bit here?
Yeah, I mean he's always communicating with us about, you know, how he sees things, and he asks us how we see things. It's really just trying to get on the same page so that when it comes to game day, you know, we just go out there and do our thing.
You played with Andy a couple of years ago in Dalton and Dallas.
Oh yeah.
What do you remember about that year with him?
I mean, it was cool. Andy is a cool dude, man. We weren't very good that year. You know, the year Dak got hurt, and Andy came in. He started a lot of games. Yeah, I think he did well. You know.
Well, Deshaun the other day was talking about, you know, when you look at Patrick Mahomes doing the no-lookers and all those cool kinds of things. It seems like Deshaun is just starting to heat up. Are you looking forward to you know, some of those highlight reel passes that are about to come?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, we all could feel that. You know, he's starting to heat up. He's getting better with every game, every rep he takes. And you know, similarly to Mahomes, he was making those plays. You know, so we just, I'm sure he's excited, and we're all excited for him to make those type of plays here.
And how lucky are you to land, you know, with a quarterback like that? Because it could, I mean, if you guys stay together over the next how many ever years, this could really take you to new heights in your career too, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, obviously the relationship between quarterback and receiver is huge. I mean, every receiver wants to have a great quarterback like Deshaun, you know, throwing in the ball. So, yeah, I mean, quarterback really matters to me for sure. So, yeah, it's a good thing.
Do you ever, you know, you're up into that stratosphere now. If you get 1,000 this year and you've already got 4 Pro Bowls, do you think about the Hall of Fame?
I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
It's not a goal that you have set for yourself early on in your
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure every player who's ever been in the NFL has set that goal, but you know, you got to be where your feet are.
As Donovan has grown this season and become, you know, had a kind of a breakout, have you noticed as the season gone on, defenses changing how much they're focusing on you, and because of, you know, they have to worry about him as well?
Yeah, it's a very typical thing, you know. Having success on offense, and a team is focusing on, you know, one receiver, because there's always like 2 or 3 receivers on the field at any given time, unless you're in like trio or something. Most of the time, it's like 2 or 3 receivers on the field. I've seen it a lot when defenses are focusing on me, and then other guys start coming alive, and then they have to change that. And so that's the great thing about having special players everywhere on offense.
Nick Chubb yesterday was asked about kind of Deshaun getting comfortable, and he said it's more about us getting to his level. Do you feel that? Do you feel like kind of Deshaun raising the level of everybody around him?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we specifically have to practice things because of the talents that Deshaun has. You know, we emphasize the scramble drill and stuff like that, just because we know how elusive he is, and how when, you know, everything breaks down as far as the pocket, we have to be in the right place for him. You know what I mean? So definitely.
Do you feel like you've had some pretty good experience already in your career having to do that? So it's probably sort of second nature to you, the scramble drills and the staying alive and all that.
I wouldn't say it's second nature to me. I don't think I've played with a quarterback quite like Deshaun as far as like the elusiveness. I think he can keep plays alive longer than, you know, all the other quarterbacks that I played with. So it's kind of a new thing for me too.
How proud are you of that consistency of all 1,000-yard seasons you're stacking up?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's something that I expect to do every year, you know, barring injury or things like that. Really just trying to, you know, reach that next level, like, you know, 1,500-yard seasons like that. Yeah.
And I know you see it every day in practice with Deshaun, and you have since going back to the offseason. But in addition to that, have you also gone back and maybe watched some of his film to anticipate what could possibly be coming, you know, from his Houston days?
Yeah, that's another thing we do often in the meetings. We're always going back and watching his film when he was at Houston, so that we can get a better grasp of, you know, how we should move when, again, in the scramble drill situations and stuff like that. Yeah.
Last regular season game at First Energy Stadium, how has it been like playing for you in that stadium this year in your time?
Back in 30.
It's been cool. It's felt like a home game experience. You know, all the fans being there. It's very comfortable. And then I feel like if you're comfortable when you're playing in the game, you'll do well. So I feel like it's been that type of experience for me this year.
When you say going to that next level, I mean, that sort of implies that you think there's more, that we haven't seen the best of you yet. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair. You know, just gotta, you know, keep grinding, keep working hard, and, you know, I think the opportunity will meet the preparation. You know.
You're up.
All right, that's Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper. Gerard, what makes Amari Cooper so difficult to defend from a DB's perspective?
You have a great combination of three things in that combo platter. One, physical presence. He's bigger and stronger than you may think when you see him up close. And then he has a speed that's deceptive as well. And then the other part is just being a student of the game and understanding that it's more than just physical prowess, but it's also about my breaks, giving a defensive back a different look. Okay, he's anticipating I do this out of my break. Well, I'm going to do this. And playing that chess match with a DB in which now if you're in a state to where mentally you're sharper and you're also just as physically talented, then you're playing next level football when you can marry those three things together. Far as your work ethic, your approach, and then your mentality, and he's doing all those things. So that's why he's so consistent, Nathan, and that you get great production out of him. And the thing that really impressed me these past 2 weeks is that he's going out there playing hurt.
Yeah.
We've seen in the past where dudes refuse to do that, and he's not doing that. So that shows you right there that's the guy that you want on your roster, because whenever you can get your top-tier guys to play hurt, when they don't have to because the contract and how much they make dictate that, hey, you're not going to do anything to me, and they still go out there and do that, that's tremendous.
Gerard, you were down on the sideline. The throw came towards your sideline, but just tell people how impressive the throw, the catch, all of it was on the play where Deshaun kind of rolls to his right and from the far hash throws a laser beam to Amari Cooper coming across the field on that far sideline.
Well, we could just start with the throw itself in that if you're going to have an opportunity, say you're aspiring to be a professional quarterback, one of the first things they want to see is, can this dude throw from the opposite hash to the sideline? Is there what we call mustard on the ball in the process of doing that? Deshaun Watson made that look routine, like you and I were out in the backyard playing catch.
Yeah.
Throwing to each other. That's how easy and effortless it looked. So that right there tells you everything you need to know. And then the fact that he was able to put it in a position where Coop didn't have to break stride, but it was right there, anticipated where you expected, that gives you all the confidence in the world as a receiver to know that, hey, my QB is throwing dimes out here. So just let me run my routes and concentrate on that. That ball's going to be there, and I'll be able to make a play. And I don't have to worry about necessarily adjusting, though that could be in my part of my game is that the wind could get it, someone could tip it. But when you know that you have top-tier passer throwing the football to you, that's encouraging as well. And you can, and though Coop is not the most demonstrative guy, in his own way, you can tell the excitement in his own way, the fact that who's throwing to him. Very
doubt. Yeah.
Opportunistic for him in having a situation as he gets into that second half of his career to be with a guy like Watson, because it's only going to help his cause to make that run towards the Hall of Fame.
You are exactly right. That Watson to Cooper hookup, we don't know how much we'll see it this week, but Amari Cooper nearing in on 1,000 yards this season. That would be a great milestone for him and for this team. We just don't know how much they'll be able to throw the ball on Saturday against the Saints. When we come back, hour number 2 of Cleveland Browns Daily, we're going to go ahead and hear from defensive coordinator Joe Woods, get into that matchup. We've got the Browns mailbag coming your way as well. And then we should have a special guest in studio at the bottom of hour number 2. Nathan Ziggler, Jason Gibbs, Gerard Cherry. It's Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio.
Browns fans, get into First Energy Stadium quicker on Saturday with Express Access, presented by Root Insurance. Enroll for free today to enter through exclusive lanes at each gate. Plus, each game you use Express Access at First Energy Stadium, you'll be automatically entered for a chance to win a Browns autographed item. Go to the Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. Now, on to the defensive matchup versus the Saints offense. For more, here's Joe Woods at the podium.
We were just talking
You're down.
Taysom Hill and all the problems that he presents. He's kind of unique, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he's one of the most unique players in the league. I think they do a good job of using him. They're really running multiple offenses where, he's on the field and he can play a lot of different positions. So it's definitely a challenge. But I think we're putting together a good plan.
Speaking of Miles, he came out in real strong support of you, and I know you're just doing your job to the best of your ability, but last week he really came out in very strong support of you, and then after the Ravens game, he really raved about, the defense, the calls, and all that kind of stuff. So for your star player to be so supportive of the job that you're doing, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. He's definitely the leader of our defense. I really had no idea, honestly, that happened. But we always just try to put our playmakers, put guys on defense in position to have success. And I felt like we've done that better lately. But definitely hearing him say that makes me feel confident in what we're doing.
Like John Johnson 3, it really looked like that was the best game that I've seen him play all season. So did you do anything different with him schematically, or did it just turn out that way?
No, he had a good game. But he's played well. A lot of plays, we call him the eraser. So a lot of plays he makes, he's like the last line of defense. But he was very active. I think that fumble he forced was the last play that he played that game. But he's really doing a great job, and he's really the leader of the back end.
You expect him to play this week?
I do. We'll see. I got to take it day to day, but I do.
How did you think your kind of brand new linebacker crew handled that game?
They did a nice job. It was interesting at times. We knew going into the game they had so much scheme. There was going to be a few things that we would see that wasn't on tape that we had to adjust to. And they did. They pulled some new stuff, and a lot of the stuff involves the linebackers in terms of the fits or in terms of making adjustments with the front. So I think once we figured it out, to a degree, they did a nice job.
Denzel jumped that route, JJ, and punched the ball out. They actively went and got those. It's just how nice was that to finally see that, kind of come to fruition here.
Yeah, it was good. We definitely needed it. It always changes the game. I think we got him back to back. And Denzel almost had one later in the game too. But definitely we preach takeaways, and we know it really changes the game because we're either scoring or getting it back for our offense. But to see that happen to those two guys was exciting.
You guys over in the last 3 games or so have started to get more takeaways. Is it just, I know Miles brought it up after the Buffalo game about getting more focus on it in practice. Is it just coincidence that it kind of coincided, or have you guys done more in practice focusing on that aspect?
I feel like we've been consistent, but I've definitely talked about it more. I always do a presentation every meeting, and we always talk about our rip attempts or opportunities we had in practice because I want to make it feel game-like to them. But I think the more confidence they play with, the better technique you play with. If the rushing coverage is working together, I think that's when the takeaways come. And like I said, we've got some the last couple of weeks.
I know that the Ravens got some criticism up there for maybe not running it, continue to run it with the success they were having. Yeah. Were you surprised that they didn't run it even more than, 28 times that they did?
I felt like they ran it 50, to be honest with you. No, I think they were mixing up a little bit, but they had some success with some of the stuff that they game planned against us, and we were trying to adjust. I think after one of the big runs, the series they had some big runs, they went back and threw the one pass, and that's when we got the takeaway with John. But like I said, I felt like they were running a lot. We just had, I think, about 5 plays where we gave up 100 yards.
You talk about creating consistency. But there's been a lot of inconsistency in terms of who's out on the field because of so many injuries and just having guys go in and out. Do you think that's a testament to the effort that you put into creating consistency, that these past couple weeks, even though guys have gone out, they're still trying to kind of get it back on track?
Yeah, I really give credit to the coaches and give credit to the players. We've had a lot of guys go down, especially at the linebacker position, and, they're not waiting for us. You have to get ready. Seems like the week gets shorter when those things type of happen, or those type of things start to happen. But I really feel like the players have done a good job working with the coaches, spending extra time after the meetings, reviewing practice, going over the game plan. And I feel like once those guys get to game day, they feel comfortable. So I think the new guys, or the guys we have playing more, have done a nice job because of all those things.
Does Kamara present that's unique to his abilities?
He is he's a unique player in his own right, just because he's a very good runner, but you can see they put him in different places. But when he gets out on routes, he's hard to deal with. So you have to have a plan just because of what he's able to do in the passing game against them. The run game, there's obviously coverage, pressure, but when he gets out in the pass game, you better have a couple different ways to try to cover him.
Kind of like McCaffrey in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah.
It seems like when your safeties have a real good night, the entire defense does. Which leads me to ask you, are they the key to playing a good defensive game in your system?
I always believe it. I mean, I think you need all 11, to be honest with you, but I believe it starts up front because it's your ability to, stop the run game, your ability to rush the passer. But at the end of the day, it all works together because when you're in the back end as a safety position, as I mentioned earlier, you're the eraser. So if something breaks through, you got to get it down, or it's a touchdown, if it's a long pass. And those guys have done a nice job. Grant's got better all year. John's been consistent. But I feel it takes all 11.
What impresses you about Olave?
Talent, speed. I mean, they're targeting him at a high rate. He's making plays, and you knew that. I mean, when you're watching a draft, you're always aware of the receivers coming out. So I knew he's coming out, but he's very talented. Especially for a rookie playing. But he has the speed, he has the route running ability. He can make the tough catches. We're going to have to deal with him.
Jarvis, what does I know he's been injured some, but what does Jarvis still have to offer?
30.
Those us, we know Jarvis, but he's always been a tough receiver. He's more of a guy that you see him move the chains. They put him in route concepts where he can get some one-on-ones, and he's always been tough to tackle. He's still making plays. You see him on tape. It's weird looking at him, in a different jersey. But we're fully aware of what he's capable of doing, and we feel like we know how they're going to use him.
You're up.
All right, for more on Saturday's matchup between the Browns defense and the Saints offense, we go to our Browns analyst, Gerard Cherry, brought to you by Evolve Technology. Evolve Technology powers best-in-class security for the Cleveland Browns. Gerard, what needs to happen on defense for the Browns to win on Sunday?
First, foremost, create turnovers. Get off the football field when you have the opportunity. Do not get into a sustained drive situation with the Saints because they are very capable from an offensive skill position standpoint. They have talented players on that roster, but they do fumble the football. Make them want to go home early and not play in this game for the entirety of it. Don't give them hope. Let the weather weigh in on them because it is going to be adverse for them coming from New Orleans. But, again, you have to stop the run and you have to create turnovers because when those scenarios take place against the Saints, guess what, Jay? They lose football games.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It will be interesting. Last week, they showed up and they showed out. That Browns linebacking core going to be tested again this week.
Oh, they certainly will be, and you love the fact that you have guys who've never really, when you think about Jones and you think about the other guys surrounding him, Kranashik as well as Fields being out there on the football field, they had no really track record. But what they do last week, and granted, 200 yards were a mass, but when they need to make plays, they made plays.
Bend, but don't break, baby.
I'll take that all day, every day, because you know what? If I'm giving up it's not going to look good on paper, but if you only have 3 points on the board, I'll live with that. So get all the yards you want between the 20s. Great. Once we get to the red zone, sure things up and kick field goals and miss them, hopefully, and you can win with that scenario. And that's exactly what we did. And I look for a very similar game. It's as if last week, Jay, prepared us for this Saturday in that it's going to be colder, obviously, but you did get a semblance of what it feels like to play on the cold weather, and these guys will use that to their advantage, I'm sure.
Going back to creating turnovers and the matchups to watch, it really starts up front with that defensive line. And no Jadeveon Clowney on Saturday. He's in concussion protocol, still has not cleared that. Next man up, you got Chase Winovich, who's had some pretty good snaps here recently. Alex Wright, I thought, had a really good last couple of games. He should have gotten his first sack. He seems to be just a half step off from having a couple sacks already in the book here. And then, Jordan Elliott had a great game on Saturday.
He did.
He's got to step up again. And then Perrion Winfrey needs to continue to develop as well.
Yeah, Perrion's making steps as well, and Jordan just needs to be consistent with it because we've seen these flashes that when he plays good, I haven't seen a game yet that we've lost when he's dominated. Not one yet. Any game that you notice that he plays well in on the defensive side of the ball, we're getting things done. So certainly he has to step up, and if Thomas is going to get his opportunities, guess what? He needs to step up as well. But I'm really going to be looking at Bryant, Elliott, and Togai if he plays to get involved in the mix because certainly in Perrion Winfrey, those are going to be the guys really going to have to do a lot because they're going to do things to test the edge, obviously, and to see if we're going to maintain our gap integrity and our force and what would be the other rules? Force and coverage rules as far as it concerns with running the game. They're going to test all that, and they should test all that because that's going to be the key to run this football. And the Saints like to run up the middle, and they like to run outside as well. So you have to make sure that you have the correct contain and you correctly force. And if you do those things, you stand a great chance of slowing down this running game. But it's just going to be really boiling down to who deals with the adversity that the weather's going to present and not let it psych them out, Jay. That's really what it's going to come down to.
Well, and the other thing, and you and I talk about it when you're on the sidelines every game day, winning your one-on-one matchup. It is almost imperative Saturday that happens.
Oh, well said. And with that, what that entails, people say, well, what does that mean? Well, what it means is the following. Someone blocks you, you don't stay stalemate with them because you didn't win. You win your one-on-one matchup on defense. When you get blocked, you get rid of that guy and you make the tackle, or you have some impact on the play, be it forcing the guy back in to someone else or doing whatever your gap integrity rules calls for you to do at that point in time. But if you're getting blocked and there's a stalemate, offense is won. And a lot of times on our defense, unfortunately, what you've seen take place is that one-on-one block is winning and guys aren't getting off their block. And that cannot be an excuse. You have to defeat the blocker, and that's how you do your job.
No question about it. It's going to be a very, very important game. Defense is going to have to help set the tone. Like you said earlier, defense going to have to create some turnovers, and they've been doing a good job of that. Need to keep
coming
going.
in bundles.
Yeah,
in bunches of late.
That's fine. Let's get a few more bunches here with 3 games left to play in the regular season.
It's the funniest thing, Jay. When you play in a cold weather game, you think the ball was like on fire, but I kid you not, it is so hard in these conditions to handle a football. And it's almost like the ball is like a stone, and your hands are brittle because of the cold. So it's going to be something, to say the least.
No
Can't say
question.
it enough.
Yeah, amen to that. OBM, the official printer partner of the Cleveland Browns. While you depend on your Browns to win, you can always depend on OBM because we can tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. The Z comes back next. It is playoff time in fantasy football. Ziggler with some stardoms. And, guys, maybe you should take advantage of this Saturday against the Browns and the Saints. Your questions as well. It is a mailbag Thursday at Browns_Daily using the hashtag AskCBD. This is Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Rumpke Waste and Recycling is a family-owned and operated company. Whether you join us as a customer or as an employee, you'll become a part of the family. Visit www.rumpke.com to learn more. Nathan Zagura, Gerard Cherry, Jason Gibbs. It's Cleveland Browns Daily. It's brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio. All right, Gibbe, you're looking for a little fantasy?
I think the people might need a little fantasy here. It's playoff time. How did you do last week, by the way?
Good. We're moving on.
Okay. All right. The quarterback situation was all right. Well, Fields had himself a day.
Fields had a good day, but the quarterback situation actually is interesting this week, and that's a good place to start here with fantasy because Jalen Hurts is out. Lamar Jackson also out. And Huntley has not been fantasy relevant for you yet, so I don't know that you can go with him this week. I don't know that you can take that plunge and say, all right, that's who I'm going with. I'm going to go with Tyler Huntley. So some people that you can look at for your fantasy teams this week, I think, at the quarterback position, Gardner Minshew.
The stash returns.
Is back. He's got A.J. Brown, who has been sensational this season for them. In fact, A.J. Brown's got 8 touchdowns since week 7, which is the second most in the entire NFL, or the most in the NFL from a receiving standpoint. The only person with more, or the only person who's second, is Juwan Johnson, who we're playing this week. So I still think you can get away with Minshew if you're in a desperate situation, because if you had Hurts, you probably didn't have another quarterback on your roster. You go and you pick him up. If not, who are some other guys? Maybe Jared Goff is out there. Now, Carolina's a tough defense, but he's been hot. And then the other one, and this is more desperation, Daniel Jones against Minnesota, just because that defense gives up a lot of points. Maybe you take a shot there. Nick Foles, named the starter in Indy. I mean, that's risky. Hopefully you're going with somebody very good. Geno Smith against Kansas City is a good play. Kirk Cousins always a good play. But, your studs are your studs here. Trevor Lawrence has been red hot. I do think he's a good start, but this is a difficult matchup, and it would not surprise me if he had a down week this week.
Not great.
No, it's tough at that spot. Running backs, everybody to start. You know exactly who to get into your lineups. I'm still rolling with both Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon of the Kansas City Chiefs. McKinnon, I think, has 5 touchdowns the last 3 games. You want to keep those guys in your lineup. Najee against the Raiders, keep him in your lineup. James Conner against Tampa. Ramondre, even though he had the silly lateral that led to all the chaos there in New England. And Raheem Mostert, I'm still rolling with. Latavius Murray had a DNP today, precautionary, they're saying. I think that you can start him comfortably at the running back spot. Wide receivers, again, good news here. This position is not one that has been dogged by injuries. So the guys to play to get into your lineups. If, our game, I'll be honest with you, I'd be very concerned. I love Amari. I love Donovan Peoples-Jones, love the Chief, but I just don't know if the conditions are going to allow for the Browns to throw the football. And so I would be looking elsewhere most likely for some of my production. One guy that I think you could pick up if he's out there and you needed to plug him in, Drake London going against Baltimore. It seems like he's getting a lot of work right now. Drake London, now that Jay changed to Ritter went his way quite a bit last week. Deontay Johnson coming on strong in a PPR league. But the weather is a factor. You've got to pay attention to the weather, especially the wind.
There's 6 games that are going to be impacted by this, at least.
Impacted significantly. Now, the one area where you can stream and usually have some success, that is definitely the defensive position. If you need some people at tight end, if Waller's out there, grab him, play him. Why not? Scored last week. Give him a chance. Otherwise, I think you're looking at going to the defenses. I love Denver this week against the Rams. I think that is one of the best starts of the week. Ravens against Atlanta. Great start there also. Tennessee against Houston. And then I think our game. I think the Browns defense is a good fantasy play this week against the New Orleans Saints.
All right. I don't have any mailbag questions.
The people are trying to get ready.
I think it's vacations.
They're trying to bundle up.
People are trying to get their shopping done, whether
Yes.
it's grocery shopping, whether it's whatever the case might be. My question to you both, and Bo Bishop gave me this yesterday. He goes, save it for the guys today.
Okay.
Now's a good time. Your Mount Rushmore of Christmas movie characters. By the way, the mailbag today is presented by Vivid Seats, an official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns. You can tweet us your questions at Browns_daily. Use hashtag AskCBD. I mean, is Macaulay Culkin on the Mount Rushmore? Home
Has to
Alone?
be. Yes, for sure. Kevin, to be exact.
Not on mine.
Not on yours.
No.
Kevin.
What about Chevy Chase, Christmas Vacation?
Yes.
Clark Griswold.
sure.
Yes, Clark Griswold is on mine.
John McClane.
Is that a Christmas movie?
You're
To me,
damn
it
right
is.
it is, Gerard. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
All right, I've got 3 locks. And
What do you
then
got?
The old man from Christmas Story.
Bumpuses.
Buddy the Elf, because I just love Buddy.
I got one for you, too.
Clark Griswold. Those are my 3, absolute locks.
All right, so I'm definitely John McClane. That's probably number 1, numero uno.
I love
And
it.
then I love this guy for some reason. I don't think he gets enough love. And that is the one and only Yukon Cornelius. And you're probably saying, who is Yukon
Who's
Cornelius?
Yukon Cornelius?
Wait a minute.
From Rudolph.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From Rudolph the Red-Nosed
Yes.
Reindeer. He
Which
was the one
guy
who took
is
on the
Yukon
Abominable
Cornelius?
Snowman. He fought him. Took him one-on-one.
Hold on.
Wrestled him down the
Thank
mountain.
you. I was like, Yukon Cornelius. How do I know that name? Where do I know that name from?
Is that the guy? Let me see him. Let me see him. I'm Googling him right now.
It-
Oh, yeah, Yukon. He's the kind of the mountain man.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, he's legit.
What a
I like
pull,
Yukon
man.
Cornelius.
That's my guy right there, Yukon Cornelius.
I like that.
I like that, too. That's a hell of a
And then-
pull.
And just because I love saying it, no one wants a Charlie in the box.
Gerard, I love it. I love it. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, does the Grinch get on there?
Yeah,
Bo
he's
had
fired.
the Grinch as like a 4A or 4B.
Yeah, the Grinch.
Animated or
No, the
Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey version.
I'm going to animate it.
I like the animated one.
Fair enough.
And I will
Charlie-
say, I got
Charlie
it.
Brown.
We just watched this the other day because it's Kayla's favorite.
Wah,
Tim
wah, wah,
Allen.
wah.
Tim Allen in the Santa Claus is hysterical.
It is pretty good. And there's enough adult humor to
Yeah.
offset the kid humor.
He is such a crud in that. It's actually quite funny.
See the store manager from Elf, whose name I don't recognize.
Oh, my God. Awesome. When he
6
just spears Buddy in the
inches.
middle of the store.
The 6-inch ribbon curls.
I'm shocked you didn't bring up your boy, The Miz.
Oh, yeah. Mikey Muscles from Christmas Bounty. Yeah, Mikey Muscles is a strong character. I don't know if he gets on the Mount Rushmore. I
What
think he's just more like
No, not on the
appreciate how
route,
strong
but
he is.
like maybe a little consideration. What about, was it Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh, God.
Weren't they
Jingle All the
fighting
Way.
over a Christmas toy?
Yeah, they
Jingle
were.
All the Way.
Yeah, horrible movie. But go ahead.
I mean,
I wasted money
you
on that
could
movie. I'm
make
still
the
mad
case
about it.
too for Todd and Margot as like a one person. Todd and Margot are such great foils in Christmas Vacation. Cousin Eddie, I mean,
Blank is full.
Cousin Eddie is strong. I think the old man, Buddy the Elf, Clark Griswold, that's a strong trio. And then you've got Yukon Cornelius and John McClane. I mean, and the Grinch. I mean, I think that's our 6. I think that's our super 6. We're going to have a different mountain with room for 6 heads. Not just 4. Is that okay with you, Gibby?
I'm fine with that.
All right. So there it is.
Christmas Vacation was on last night. And I'm in bed just laughing. Woke my wife up. She's
It's
like,
so
"What are you
good."
laughing
15
at?"
times, right?
It's so good.
Still laughing.
I mean, honestly, the wife's not even a bad. She could be on. She was great.
Was
in
that Beverly D'Angelo?
Yeah, yeah, she's fantastic.
She sells it.
there was a moment last night in the thing. In Christmas Vacation that I don't think that I can remember seeing before. And I wasn't. The 2 old men are napping and snoring.
Uh-huh.
And they're showing the parade and talking about Rudolph. and they're talking about his cojones. And it's in the background enough that you'd never pay. Like, I was like, wait a minute, what was that? And I rewound it, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
All right, I got to go look at this because I don't have that off the top of my head.
I was dying. It was hilarious.
I like it.
Yeah, not a bad time.
And how many times have you seen Die Hard, Jay?
More times than
I've seen it so many times. I know Argyle's name, and if you know who Argyle's name is, you've really seen it a lot. And that, just in case you're wondering, is the limo driver.
Jeez, I have not seen it that many times. I got to be honest.
I love the limo driver.
Miss K has never seen it, so that's on our agenda for.
My God,
perhaps
she's deprived.
Yeah, perhaps for tonight. All right, coming up next, we got a special guest in studio. He is perfection. That's coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio. Causes you injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Elk and Elk, proud partner of the Cleveland Browns. And oh, what a very special early Christmas gift it is to have former two-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion and the 22nd Triple Crown Champion in WWE history. I'm surprised there are 22, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, that sounds a little high.
It feels inflated. I'm going to say it's like
2.2
HBK,
maybe.
you, that Mike guy. And that's it. So probably the third.
Soon to be Mr. Mazanin.
Soon to be Mr. Mazan. And Dolph Ziggler joining us now. What's going on, brother?
Not that I'm happy to be back in Cleveland. We get the Browns on a huge win streak. I'm right behind it. I'm happy to hear it.
It is nice. 3 of the last 4 for the Browns. Yeah. Obviously, the season started with so much hope, and then you get to Sean, you get the news that he's going to be suspended for 6 games by a federal judge. Then the league says, nah.
Let me stop you there.
Sure.
I love that. They said 6 games. Immediately, I have 4 group chats going, okay, we can go 3-3. We'll do 4-2. We're going to do this. Like, no, listen, they just got to hand it off to Chubb. Throw a screen pass twice a game. Like, yeah. And then then it got bumped again.
To 11.
Like, okay, all we got to do is go 5-6, and we'll be like, everybody just doing the math. I love that.
And the bottom line is all of those things on the group chat that were said were correct. That is all that they had to do. And in fact, we had it. We were on track, and the Jets game kind of derailed us. It had been, 2,236 straight games under that circumstances, ended with the team winning.
I hate that I was first and foremost, I love listening to you and Jim Donovan. That makes my day.
Thank you, man.
I am
not.
I'm not in town, so I have the Browns app, and I get to listen to you guys. And by the way, my dad will do the same thing. He'll just he'll watch the TV in the garage, but he turns the volume down and puts you guys on. You got to do a little fast forwarding, rewind, and get the timing right.
Time it up. Yep.
But it is so great, and I love knowing that you're a fan. Grew up here, love this stuff, and now you two are doing it. We love that. If it was terrible, I'd be excited, but it's awesome, and you guys rock. I love that.
Thank you very much. That means a lot coming from you, and it's awesome that when I did this, to have you and Mike and a bunch of my friends who have made it out of the city of Cleveland and who are big celebs out there have been able to stay with the team through that and getting to know each other and then doing this. For me, it's been awesome. So I'm glad that you're enjoying
that rocks,
it,
man. It's
as
so
well.
Cool. Yeah, you try. It's even when we're losing or something, and you just hear a big play, and you hear Jim Donovan's voice and your voice, and I love it. And you're so smart, and you do it. It makes it so great for people who are no longer in Cleveland to be able to hear you guys. I love that.
Well, I appreciate that very much, but it is great that you are back in Cleveland for the holidays.
Yes, happy to be here. I haven't seen a game live in 2 years, I think, so I'm getting to the Christmas Eve game. Very excited that we're huge favorites in that game too. So
we are favorites.
We get up by 3. It'll be mercy rule, and we'll start victory formation. I love that.
Just call the game at that juncture right there. Now, what are you thinking about the weather?
So first and foremost, I almost came right for the gym here in my shorts and a t-shirt because it's beautiful outside. I guess in the next 24 hours it becomes a glacier effect, snowstorm.
We're going to lose all 50 of these degrees.
Yeah,
all
everything.
50 of them.
What's it supposed to be? 3 or 6 degrees or something
and
crazy?
It's 50 right now.
I just went to the gym in shorts and a t-shirt. I had a winter hat on. I took it off because I was too warm in the car. Like it's like spring outside, and it's about to be a crazy storm. Which I'd be very disappointed if I was at the Browns game and it was warm. I'd be.
So
bummed.
You would be 100% against the dome someday.
Yeah, sorry. If we've stuck with the Browns this long, we've stuck with the grass this long, we stuck with the colors and not having a logo except for a helmet. They all have helmets. Anyway, if we've stuck with it this long. Let all the pretty boys somewhere else have the fancy dome. Let's keep the grass.
Okay, keep it gritty here in Cleveland. What did you think of the white face mask last week?
I like when we do cool different things. I like when we mix stuff up. I like when we give those orange jerseys or something cool like that. I'm still more of a fan of the tire tracks on the field than the worried about that.
Sad. I'd like to see it, but I think if we were in a better climate, perhaps that would have grown back in already.
That was turf. They would have just ripped it up and Velcroed it down.
Velcroed it right back in there. We'd be glorious. So. What's going on with you personally, professionally, outside of obviously following the Browns, having a little rough stretch, but now a little bit of hope. Still glimmers.
A little bit of hope is nice, and especially for the fans that stay behind the Browns, no matter what. We know what is it, 7% or whatever to make whatever.
So
but it doubled, almost doubled from
almost
0.4 to 0.7.
Right. So we're on the right trajectory. And by
It
the
keeps
way,
doubling.
we go back to that Jets game. They had a point. They had a 0.1% chance of winning. So our odds are 7 times as
seven
good.
times that. I forgot you were talking about the Jets. I was listening to you guys and texting
was not pleased.
and texting my dad as I was going to the airport. I put my stuff on the conveyor belt for the X-ray machine for security at TSA. And he goes, 90 seconds left, and Chubb just scored again. I go, even we can't screw this one up. Put the phone off, went through security, took it out to 3 missed calls from my dad in that 90-second window. He goes, we were the Browns again. I go, this can't be real. And then 14 texts from different people all showed up, and we did, we were the Browns as we oftentimes are, sadly.
Well, hopefully those days are in the past for us.
Yes.
What have you thought of Deshaun? Obviously it was some rust in the first game. The defense picked him up, but you've seen, I think, pretty good improvement over the last couple.
Sure, and you almost have to. I'm no expert on anything, but if you play with a team for 14 or 15 games, you clearly have better chemistry than if you play with a team for one game.
Fair.
That's understood no matter what the situation. Yeah, a little bit better than that first one, which, sure, there's got to be rust. There's got to be weird jitters even if you've been around for 20 years. But as a fan, yeah, I go, when in doubt, and, there's a little rust there, just give it to Chubb. Give the ball to Chubb.
Give it to your boy Nick Chubb, third in the NFL in rushing, going to a Pro Bowl once again, his fourth straight Pro Bowl. He's good. Is he your favorite guy? You mentioned him like 3 times.
I know, I keep saying it, but because I think it's burned into my brain when they're like,
just give it to
third
Chubb.
and 2, and it's high and out of bounds. You go, just give it to Chubb. Like, first and goal from the 2, 4 times, give it to Chubb. Whatever. I'm sorry that I'm more of a defensive guy. I was a cornerback, safety, so Del Pitt, get behind those kind of guys, making some big plays, stepping up. Love that. And like hustling up and comers. Schwartz, I'm rooting for. Love that. Peoples-Jones, I bet to get the first touchdown of the game, and he got the first and only one. It made my day. So, and maybe
That's
some money.
wonderful. Yeah. By the way, Bally Bet coming soon to Ohio. You'll be able to do that right here in the great state
Pretty
of Ohio.
soon, yeah. I
Shortly.
had to get all my bets in before my plane took off.
Right?
my dad called me. He goes, did you take off yet? I'm like, oh, my God, is there an emergency? What's wrong? He goes, put 50 on the Browns. I'm like, all right, okay.
Let's go. The Ziggler family, the Nemets, they're in big on the Browns. You should be too. Dolph, great having you here, man.
It's so great to be here. It was so warm that I ended up wearing 2 hoodies.
Whoa.
I had to wear a second one.
What is
These
this?
lights in here.
This is unbelievable. Did Brad Mellon put you up to this?
My close personal friend Brad sent me one of these in every color, I want to say 6 months ago. And now I have one. I pass them out to my family. We got our dogs in them. I guess they're like in short supply and people can't get them. I don't know. I may never shower again or come out of this. Anyway, what were you yapping about?
We'll be back with more Cleveland Browns Daily right after this on ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, catch the Kevin Stefanski Show tonight. Myself, Gerard Cherry, from 7 to 8 on the University Hospitals Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Head coach Kevin Stefanski and Browns punter Corey Bojorquez in a provocative one-on-one interview. I think you guys are going to like this. You're going to learn a lot about your punter. Right now we know that he hits bombs. That we are well aware of, but he's like on the path to being the most interesting man in the world. Gerard, what's going on, brother?
I can't wait to hear this.
It was an interesting one. He's a unique guy. Ordained minister, collects classic cars, just had a baby a few months ago. Well, his wife just had a baby a few months ago. Natural, at home, in their bathtub. We cover all that and much more, Gerard. So you get ready.
I'm ready.
Gerard is ready. The Browns are ready. Browns and the Saints. Gerard, what do you think about tonight? Jags and Jets. Can Trevor Lawrence stay hot against the sauce?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, he can stay hot because a lot of people aren't saying this, but that move they made last week, the Jets, as far as putting Wilson back on the football field and using the doctors as a way to do that, I don't know if that set quite well with some of his teammates.
How can you say that when there are 10 seconds left, implying that there's medical malpractice going on and they're benching Mike White, who went to 10 different doctors, none of whom would clear him? And now what? We're talking about this on the Stefanski Show tonight, obviously. That's what we're starting with, Gibbs. Change the rundown. That's what we're leading off with tonight. You heard it here. Great tease by Gerard. The next level is next. You've been